Been a frustrating day. It's the third time I had to record this. Third. The lights are all messed up in my place because everything's deciding to break today.
Yay!
Let's go ahead and jump on into it. Snape versus Sauron. So, these two going at it. We have Lord of the Rings versus Harry Potter. Really could not get two more different fantasy series here, especially with the types of character we're getting into and villain we're getting into it with. But let's go ahead and jump into the 7 categories. We have origin, development, role, interest for the reader, relationships, who would win in a fight, and the point that only counts if it's a tie, who would do better in the other's world. Getting into it with these two, my phone decided to kind of do something.
Great.
So getting into it with these two in origin, Snape was a kind of not normal kid at Hogwarts, someone who was on the outside. He had a girl who he liked a lot and fell in love with. She rejected him and he ended up calling her a hurtful name. She dated his bully, kind of pushing him down a path of going with a bunch of rejects. The rejects eventually became Death Eaters and joined Lord Voldemort. Really drastic escalation there on Snape's behalf, but a pretty decent origin for a good fantasy series. Sauron, on the other hand, origin basically gods made demigods, demigods made him. He helped corrupt the creation of the world and all kinds of things like that. It's intense. You need to watch CPG Gray's video on it if you want a better summary than that, but Sauron most definitely gets this point. Jumping into development, this point is not about power, it's about development of character, and with Sauron never really getting a narrative in terms of us with him or developing as a natural person or character with us at all, this point's pretty much going to go to default to Snape. But that being said, Snape's development's nothing to shrug at. It's actually very good. I really enjoyed Snape's development throughout the series. The kind of mystery of who he is being unraveled is really enjoyable, and something that's executed by J.K. Rowling quite well. Snape is certainly one of her best characters and really earns the development point here, even though he's kind of just getting it by default. Next up, we have role, and the role they play in the world they are in. Snape is a protector to a chosen one at a distance. He doesn't do the best job. In fact, many others kind of take up the mantle over time, and he's actually kind of abusive asshole to Harry at times. Really unlikable in that aspect. Like, people, yeah, he's a good guy in the end, but he's still abusive to children. He's also a teacher and instructor at Hogwarts, all a pretty good role. Sauron's pretty much the now on Middle-earth god of evil because the other people are on other planes or restricted in some way, so he is the most powerful center of evil in Middle-earth in terms of physically there. He is leading the dark hordes, the hordes of orc and everything, trying to wipe out men, elves, and dwarves and really conquer everything that's not under his shadow. Yeah, he takes the role point, and the execution of it is magnificent. Like, on premise, Sauron is so shallow, but in execution, wonderful. Now we have interest for the reader. I'm a very big fan of the interest for Snape. I think the mystery of who he serves and the motives behind his actions are great. It's one of the best plot lines that permeates Harry Potter, and something that everyone when they were a kid reading this series really wondered at and speculated at. I still hate Snape as a person. I think he's a great character, but I think he's a piece of guy who gets way too much of a break cut from him for fans. That being said, magnificent execution for interest. Sauron on interest, if you're really into lore and beings and kind of more abstract storytelling, Sauron is absolutely fascinating. But for the mainstream reader, he falls apart quite a bit. He's an ominous presence, do not get me wrong, but when it comes to tangible interest, something that we as the reader can really dig our nails into and really investigate and be attached to in some way, Sauron just isn't really there. He's much more of a classic fantasy trope. It's just more of an abstract threat than a character in any way. Now we have relationships. Sauron has a relationship with the ring, but that's not really a relationship, it's just a thing that he made. Snape, on the other hand, has really interesting dynamics with Harry, Dumbledore, Lily when that was going on, other professors, Death Eaters, his allegiance, and kind of with the reader in our back and forth in trust and distrust with him. Snape is absolutely wonderful in that aspect. I can't help but give him the point here, just because Sauron's relationships don't really exist, except for maybe his relationship in crafting the world, but trying to make that connection's a real stretch. And Snape actually has really decent relationships that lend to the mystery of who he is. So I'm going to give him the relationship point as well. Who would win in a fight? Sauron. Sauron would utterly destroy Snape. Yes, Harry Potter wizards have powerful magic at their disposal, but Sauron's a demigod and helps kind of, craft and influence the world around him in extreme ways. A being of such power that creatures like Saruman and Gandalf would not stand a chance, and they are many power levels above Snape. Pretty much by default, Sauron gets the who would win in a fight point. And now we have the tiebreaker. Who would do better in the other's world? Sauron would most certainly be a massive fish out of water in our world, and it's our world with magic, so it would be quite confusing for him. He would probably observe from the outside for quite some time, trying to figure out how to get a grip in this really mysterious world. The technology would certainly be well beyond his comprehension at the time. He could eventually learn and begin corrupting and influencing from a distance, and over time probably gain a really substantial amount of power and following before anyone realizes what's going on, because Muggles don't really know what's going on, and Harry Potter magic probably has no way of detecting the evil influence that is Sauron, and even if it did, he's so far above their level it wouldn't really matter. It would take nuclear weapons to really take him out in my mind, tank missiles and things like that. You might be able to destroy his physical form, but his spiritual body can continue on, something we know for a fact. It would plague Earth forever. Snape, on the other hand, would probably be a mid-level magic user, or probably slightly above that within the Lord of the Rings world, and he has a greater magic energy capability than almost anyone else in Harry Potter, and can certainly output faster than your most magic users, so he has an advantage there, but he will certainly not come close to accomplishing any kind of real substantial life for himself that he had compared to the one in the Harry Potter world, certainly not having the fulfillment of teaching or really helping shape the world in any way like Sauron would have in ours, so Sauron gets the final point and the victory. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Certainly one of the strangest comparisons I've ever done, but it was a lot of fun to do. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support the channel, and have a great day, y'all. Peace!